Welcome to I Heart Geek.
And welcome to another episode of I Heart Geek. Oh my gosh. This is my co-host, Satomi.
And this is my co-host, Dub.
And we have a special guest that we want you guys to meet today. And to start off, before we even start, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Go ahead, Satomi.
Oh! No, I am going to say that it is your privilege.
It absolutely is.
It absolutely is. And, fair warning, she and I get into a room and things go a little bit nutty, but she is a musician. She's an award-winning composer and lyricist. She's the associate conductor. She's been associate conductor on many national tours of Broadway shows, as well as in Vegas. She's currently associate conductor on the touring company of Six. She is also assistant conductor at Jersey Boys. She's the founder of the Creation Project, which we'll talk about later. And she can also marry you at Taco Bell. Ladies and gentlemen, I am so excited to welcome to the show Angela Chan. Yay!
Hello! So a lot of this is going to be Satomi talking because I can't keep up. I mean, these two are fast together. I think I'm pretty good at this, but dear God, this is a different level today. So you're in for something really special today.
No, but now you've raised expectations, and we're already both Asian, so we already have fear of the Asian F. And now,
right.
now you. Oh, Dub, that's not good. No, so okay.
I can't make these jokes. Stop, guys. I want to do it. I can't.
And so, all right. So clearly we're going to get that out of the way. If you're not watching on the YouTube, and if you haven't figured it out from our names,
call it the YouTube.
The YouTubes, yes, on the YouTubes,
on the internets.
On the internets, yes. Both Angela and I just almost said both Asian and I. Both Angela and I.
No, can't make jokes.
We come from good Asian stock, and so we share a lot in common. But let's start out. Let's demystify something a little bit in your career. I just said something about you, and it was public. It's okay. So you are, in some cases, an associate conductor, and in some cases, an assistant conductor. What the heck is that? What's the difference?
Oh, it's just where you fall in the hierarchy. So associate conductor means you're number 2. Assistant conductor means you're number 3.
You're never number 2, Angela.
Aww.
Don't put yourself down there.
Sometimes I smell like a number 2.
I tried to let that one pass. Oh my gosh.
Oh no.
I tried to let it pass. Like a number 2.
But apparently you passed.
Only when I eat ice cream.
No. Oh my gosh, you have the Asian lactose intolerance. I'm so sorry.
Oh, of course.
So we're going to learn all our stereotypes today. Us white guys are going to learn all our stereotypes today from you guys. Thank you.
Well, yes. Well, we get to do it because we actually had moms who would say, "Oh, you're so racy." It's true.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Mm-hmm.
So like I said, we both grew up Asian. You and I share this. I'm curious what your experience was, because you started playing classical music, like straight up Asian upbringing. When did you start playing piano?
When I was 4. So, and I don't even remember why. I think my mom had bought a piano before I was born, a couple years before I was born, because she wanted to learn, but she's kind of tone deaf. So, but she didn't. But being Asian, you don't want to waste anything that you spent money on. So then when I got old enough, she put me in piano lessons, and then I had to stay in piano lessons. And then I tried to quit piano lessons, and she made me stay in more piano lessons.
Oh, wait. So what did you want to do?
I don't know. I was too little.
You just knew it wasn't piano.
Well, I don't know. Like, I liked drawing. I learned, I had violin lessons when I was 6. And then when I was in like 4th grade, I also played the harp. Maybe like 4th, it's either maybe 5th grade and 6th grade, I played the harp.
I would think you would be like crushed by that. Like, I'm just picturing teeny tiny little, yeah, I mean, they're huge.
Well, they have smaller harps.
Yeah, Irish harps.
They have smaller troubadour harps.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
So it was still big, but yeah. But my mom was like, all right, now this is getting too big, and like we can't carry this around everywhere.
Yeah, that was sort of me in the upright bass. But so then when did you discover, like, did your parents have big plans for you with the piano?
No, not with the piano.
Really? What did they want you to be?
Yeah,
What did they want you to be?
not that. I feel like when I told my parents that I wanted to be a musician, go to college to do music, I feel like my dad just had these visions of me with like hobo gloves in the subway busking with like a guitar or something. Be like,
With
oh
a
God, I'm gonna have to support my
guitar.
daughter the rest of her
That's
life.
awesome.
With a
So, or,
guitar
like
that
maybe a
you
little
can't
thing
even
for
plug into anything because you don't have money
right, or
for
maybe
it.
like a little Radio Shack because we're
The
from
belt,
the
the
90s.
belt, the belt.
A little
amp.
pig
There you
nose
go.
amp.
Yeah, a little dinosaur piano, a cat piano. So
Wait,
so he
so
was trying to talk
yeah.
what?
No, go ahead.
Go ahead.
He was trying to talk me out of it and do like a liberal arts education somewhere at the very least. And so he made me an interview with I think it was like Washington University in St. Louis. He's like, well, that's a good liberal arts college. And I had gone to their college night, and I was like, how many music majors do you have? And the lady just kind of looked at me. She's like, 5. And I was like, Dad. So I ended up going to University of North Texas because I got a scholarship there, and so I just did that instead. Rebel.
And you got your degree in music?
Yes. So it's kind of a weird degree. So it's a BA in music and liberal arts with a focus.
It wasn't a real degree. They sort of just made it up for me.
So okay. So you kind of you had a customized degree.
Sort of, yeah.
And when did you figure out that you wanted to get into pit playing?
Explain what pit playing is before you go on.
Go ahead.
I don't think everybody knows what pit playing is. So tell us what pit playing is.
Well, it's not what it sounds like, first of all.
So there is no mosh pit going on, right?
I mean, it's not like the...
I could have gotten my degree in that.
So pit playing is just playing in the orchestra pit of a Broadway show, like musicals and stuff. I sort of just fell into it, actually. I didn't even know that was a thing. I'd only seen one musical like my whole time growing up, and it was a tour of Phantom of the Opera when it was playing at the Fair Park Music Hall for the county fair, like the one year.
And just let's note. So you saw it, and then what happened years later?
I ended up playing on it on like 2 different productions, which is where I actually met Satomi after I had been hearing about her. Sure. we were in the hobby center down in the orchestra room, and I walked in and I was like, Asian, and she was like, Asian. I was like, Satomi? each other.
We like spot each other. It's like we have a dowsing rod. It's like, oh,
no, okay. So I'm having trouble buying this because I always picture all the string players, not the bass players, but the viola, violin, all being Asian in all these.
No,
am I wrong on that? That's just how I always pictured it.
No, you're super wrong. I think that's probably more the case in classical music. Wouldn't you say, Angela?
Yeah, I'd say classical is more. Because I feel like in musical theater, like for years, and part of this is like how I kind of the Creation Project came to be is like we used to kind of just joke around. It was like, hey, look at us Asians. There's 5 of us, and we all know each other. And most of the people that I knew actually weren't even musicians. They were all actors. They were performers, and I'd say all 5 of us. And so like I think it was. Like one of the only ones that I knew about even like 20 years ago was Faith Situ, who is currently the conductor and MD on the Frozen tour. And she's been around like forever. She's done everything. She's like the OG. So, and she was but for years, like she was kind of like the only Asian person that I knew that was in like theater pits. One of my friends who I was a violin player on The Sound of Music was Asian and Australian. And so basically they were like kind of those.
Been amazing.
I actually know a few Asian Australians.
Oh yeah?
Yeah. I think there's a very high there's a lot of adoptees over there, and then they're not that far from the Asias, so there
No,
are
they're
some
not. And they
immigrants.
also have
Interesting.
like, I think they call them like Australasians, because I think when I was down there, like I would pass like
Australasians, can they like project
Australasians.
themselves to other places? Sorry.
Yeah,
They go into a meditative state and they can appear in your
they're
dreams.
all
No.
seeing, all knowing.
Yes. Not Australasians. Okay, continue.
Okay, so let me ask you about why is there such a difference in the classical versus pit? To me, I would, as I say, I'm a rock musician, so I'm not going to be in the pit, unless it's the pit.
You'd be surprised. There's
Why is
some
there such a
amazing
difference in
pits.
that? I always thought, reading music is kind of the same skill set, kind of the same feel. You're playing the same thing all the time, that you're not improvising. That's me harping on classical musicians. But why is there such a difference in that?
I honestly don't know. I mean, when I was growing up, it was just like our high schools did musicals every other year, but somehow I was never asked to play for them. And I don't know why, but it's just they always act like the other kids too. But I don't know. I mean, I think it's just because when you're growing up and you're learning technique with piano, like you don't really learn it by like show tunes in a pit, because it's different playing than there's not a lot of solo stuff maybe in theater for you to
Okay.
learn when you're growing up. Whereas like classical, there are like method books, and like the Suzuki method is what I grew up with. So kind of just like steps
So did
up,
my kids. Yep.
this. So yeah, I mean, I also teach piano lessons. I try not to, but like it's, it's just, I think it's just where the technique comes in is generally maybe in the classical music side, I feel like. Yeah.
I also feel like, don't you think that there when you're talking about a musical theater pit, there is a personality thing that kind of happens.
Yeah.
It's so if you think about it on a scale, right? So you've got your classical musicians who are extremely structured. Then you've got your jazzers and your improvers. Now, PS dub.
I'm just giving you a hard time.
Most of the cadenzas that come from, and cadenzas are the big solos in the middle of classical pieces, came from improv back
Yep.
in the day. So there was definitely space for improv, but you have the personalities that are in between, and that's where I think the musical theater, the pit players tend to be a little more chill. There is a ton of discipline that comes with playing in a pit, because you have to make sure that
Yeah.
you are together with people that you can't see, and that's why someone like Angela as a conductor is so important. So how did you end up getting into conducting?
Also just fell into my lap. It's just something that we just had to do. If I could think about things that I wish I'd known when I was in college that I could have maybe trained a little bit more on, probably conducting would have been one of them. But I also feel like the way musicals are kind of going, like it's also more. So there's not as many they're called stand-up conductors, where you're basically, the conductor is just standing and conducting with a stick. A lot of times now, just to kind of because they keep trying to reduce the number of musicians in pits, they call them keyboard conductors. So basically, you're conducting, but you're also having to play the show on the keyboard, play the keyboard while you're conducting, which is a whole other different skill set, I feel like, because it's just like doing this and then also like trying to play. So sometimes it's difficult, because there's sometimes there's this rhythms you're having to play, and you're like, why am I having to conduct all these offbeats while I'm playing and doing this? And sometimes it's a lot, but yeah, it's just one of those things you kind of just refine over the years. You kind of see, for me, I kind of would just see what I thought worked and what I thought didn't work, or what I thought was better, and kind of just adapted that into my own style of doing things. And I kind of find that, there's a lot of conductors, especially orchestral conductors, are very flowery and like with how they do things. So I find like when I go to like a classical concert, I'll watch the conductor and I'll be like, I have no idea what like this means. Where is the whereas with pit conducting, everything has to be a little more concise, because with orchestras, a lot of times with classical music, those guys have been learning and playing that music for years. So there is a bit of everybody kind of knows a bit how it's going to go. Yeah. Like, if you ever see revivals of Beethoven's Fifth, it's always just Beethoven's Fifth. It's not reorchestrated. It's not redone. But with musicals, things are always changing and they're warping and you have to kind of really just be very clear. And so the kind of conductors that I've gravitated towards are the ones who kind of have the simplest patterns and have the clearest patterns. Because I think like with everything that's going on, like it's easy if you're not moving around a ton, you can see where the cues are a whole lot easier.
Well,
Hmm.
and you and I recently had a conversation that sometimes when you get a book for a pit, it's not really a book. It's like notes. I mean, not like music notes, like somebody's sketched in and you have chord
Oh,
changes and they're like, have at it.
Yeah.
And you have to, but you have to do that while people are singing to you in a set
Mm.
environment, right? So
yeah.
how do you navigate something like that?
I hold my breath and go. No, that kind of stuff kind of more happens over at Cirque du Soleil. So I also am an on-call a keyboard player at Ka over at the MGM Grand
Hmm.
still, and that show is one of those where like they didn't really have sheet music for us. I was lucky because at some point along the way somebody made a book for us, so that way we kind of had generally what we should play. But then as the years went on, like little things would change. And so sometimes we get new music and sometimes like I have one of my sheets for the forest is like the forest thing changed at the beginning. And so then I think I just went in one day and this was probably last year. And the MD was like, all right, so this part changed. You're going to play like this arpeggio up like this. And then then you just play fluty bits until we call the next thing. And there's like no chord changes and like kind of just no structure and it's just free. And there's like a little like mod wheel button where you can make and go and like change its bends and everything. And
How was that again? Thank you.
That's heaven to me, by the way. That's yes. Oh,
and
I
it's like,
love that
okay,
stuff.
like I still don't really know how it's supposed to go. I just like play some stuff and every day, and then there's like another flute solo. They call it I think it was like a jam or anyways. But there's another part later in that same piece where you're just jamming on the flute, like just flute,
Just on the
and
patch.
like call the next thing, and it's like all right. And every day, every time I go in, I don't ever know what I'm going to play until I get there. I'm like, what do I feel like today? Does this make sense? And if it doesn't, then that's okay. I'll try it again next time.
The Frank Zappa method. It works.
Yeah.
That does work.
Hold
And
your
now-
breath and just play anything.
And now you've toured. You've toured in every state in the country,
I have.
including including Alaska,
Hawaii, and I've been to Puerto Rico.
Puerto Rico.
Too.
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh! Have you toured overseas?
I don't think Canada and Mexico really count.
Yeah, it does. Well, for this, it
Sure.
counts.
Sure.
International artist. Yeah.
So we are all musicians here. Talk tour life for a second.
Ooh,
What do you-
tour life is like living in a petri dish. Like you're always on with people. Like it's just like time just like goes by so much faster and yet so much slower. Like when you're in the real world, when you're a muggle, you're just like, oh yeah, like this week here or last month or blah blah blah. When you're on tour, you're like, well, 3 cities ago we did this, and remember we were in this city, like, and that's how we kind of tell time when we're on tour. It's like, oh yeah, like 4 cities ago when we were in Anchorage, we did this, or I remember, and it's just, and it's funny because only the people on your tour will know what you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
True.
But also, like, touring is all about like gadgets. For me, it was like gadgets. What can I get that will like be gadgety so that I can reduce the amount of stuff I travel with, and also be like hip on the technical stuff. Like when I first started touring, I was still writing letters because we didn't have iPhones.
What is?
Like,
Are you 90?
Phones. There was no texting yet. I mean,
What is this letter that you
the
speak of?
places. So,
You
yeah,
picked up a pen? Doesn't that make your hand cramp?
I missed
I had to
that.
buy stamps somewhere. Yeah, I mean, we didn't even have. I think wireless kind of came into existence right at the end of like the first like 5 years I was touring as I was getting off the road, and I remember actually being on the Cats tour and being somewhere where it was like, I think it was like in Cranbrook or something. We just crossed the border into Canada, and we was like this one road town, and there was like a diner and a gas station and this hotel. And we went in and we're like, is there wireless here? And they were like, sure, you need to put down a $250 deposit. I was like, for what? And she pulls up this contraption, and it's just like this box that has a thing that plugs into your Ethernet, that an Ethernet plug on your laptop, and also plug into a electrical outlet, and that was the wireless. And so you had to put down the deposit in order to get this wireless, and then return it when you left.
This is like Betamax kind of level.
Yes.
Well, just with that, sorry, I got to tell this. I just got out of the Navy, and we were driving across country. Car broke down in, I want to say, Nebraska, and this is why I will never go back to Nebraska, friends.
Oh,
We get to the gas station. I'm like, okay, well, do you have an ATM? He goes, an Atom. I think they have one of them their machines at the Walmart, but I'm not sure. That was Nebraska. I'm like, that's the wireless all over again. It's like an
yeah, I'm
ATM
sure.
machine, guys.
But I'm sure they're.
It was 98. It wasn't that long ago.
Oh. Although think about it. 98. You're talking. It's
Stop
20,
now. Stop now. I don't want to.
All right.
Now. Nope.
So,
can I hear about your clothing company? I see Satomi wearing the shirts all the time.
Oh, the Creation Project. Yes. So that was something I started, actually, and I launched in 2020, right as the world was shutting down. So the idea kind of just started like in a couple of years before that, because now we kind of talk about representation a lot more because there's a lot more visibility now, like post-pandemic. But before the pandemic, there wasn't really, like, we used to talk about like what shows are Asians in, and Miss Saigon, and was it The King and I? Navy Flower Drum song, people did that, but not really. It's kind of weird. And so, just when you talk about roles for Asian performers, there just weren't a ton. And so we also used to joke around about one of our other friends being a determined Asian because she was always just like, like go, go, go. And it was kind of a joke, but, but after a while, it was like, is that really a joke? Could that be something more? And I mean, and you think about what are like role models, even like superheroes, even in the Asian world, and we have like what, Hello Kitty, and like that's kind of it.
You got the Atom.
we didn't really have anything, and so I thought it'd be kind of cool to have like superhero characters that were like female, that weren't like all of the regular stereotypes, that weren't highly sexualized, that were more focused on like accomplishments and like positive attributes of success. And so I'd started playing around with the idea, and finally, I think in like 2019, I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna. Sometimes I just like to jump off cliffs, and I was like, I'll just do it. And so I started looking for an illustrator to work with, and I found this guy, Evan Chen, who works in New York through a friend of mine. She worked with him at Sesame Street, and he's actually really into superheroes too, and he actually was a great collaborator, and he had all the questions for me. He's like, okay, I see your ideas here. So tell me about this, 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 and this. So that we took us about probably a year to kind of create and refine the characters. But we kind of settled on the 4 that we currently have on the website, which are determination, concentration, education, and motivation. Which
are so cool. Yep. I actually I got to watch those be developed, which was super, super cool. And to your point about diversity, I mean, I know that diversity is a real hot button topic right now, and as it should be. But what I find interesting is actually Asians still are very much a minority in the larger entertainment industry. Just in general, you have oh yeah, there's that 1 or 2 Asian actors that It's when we did a photo shoot of Asians on Broadway just a few years ago, and there were, I can't remember, I want to say there were maybe 13 of us in total across the entire Broadway Broadway cast. It's so when you're talking representation, when you created the Creation Project, something that I really loved about it was just like offering a platform that that was like, yes, you are allowed to be creatives outside of being a classical pianist who plays in a classical orchestra. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's actually something that I respect deeply and I think is incredible and beautiful. But it also was such a narrow road that was laid before us, right? And especially when you have Asians with personality. And I'm not saying that Asians don't. I'm just saying that, like Angela and I are a little on the
You're killing me. You're killing me.
Who are very culturally American. Let's just, let's put it that way. That we're relatively outspoken. We're pretty chill, and not not living the stereotype. And it's a hard road to hoe when you've got people who still want you to be everything that stereotype is.
Okay, Angela, what's it like to be a musician in Vegas versus other places? I know it's a nightmare for some, it's a heaven for others. How do you feel on the musician in Vegas?
It's very interesting, and it's really been interesting to see how like the entertainment and the music world has kind of really changed and evolved since I moved. I moved here in 2006 when all of the Broadway shows were starting up. And so I was like, oh, it's like Broadway West. And so it was great for when I first moved here because there were a lot of shows for me to sub on and play. And then recession hit, of course. And then a lot of things kind of dropped off. A lot of things closed. A lot of companies and casinos became a lot cheaper and about the bottom line. Because before that, everything was like free flowing. It's just like, you want to go see a show? Here's the ticket. Let's go get free booze. And with everything was just like, it was just like wheeling and dealing and free flowing. And then the pandemic just kind of changed all of that, and all the casinos like started tightening their belts. Nobody wanted to really take chances on new shows, and I've been really lucky to I feel like to have survived in being a musician for this long as kind of like my primary source of income, because I've had also like 1,000 jobs, and I think because there's so much convention work here too, like there's a lot of odd jobs that we've done. So
what's the oddest one you've done?
Well, I mean, other than marrying people at Taco Bell,
which we need to talk about in a minute.
I once had to, I think I got hired to do, there was like Toyota was doing they were doing like an award ceremony here for their convention for their managers. And they had like all these winners in like maybe 13 or 12 or 13 different categories. And I guess what they wanted was for a group of 3 a cappella singers to sing, they had like a theme song for each, like just pop songs for each of these categories, but they wanted the singers to sing the names of the people into the song. As they were, and I was like, that's a lot of songs and people's names. I hope they pronounce them all right. And I was just like, I don't really know how they're gonna do that. So I had to sit and like actually like kind of like figure out what the hook of the song was and figure out how people's names go through it. And so we had to sit down and rehearse what the song, the melodies were to each of the 3 singers. And then we had to practice like doing all of their names in time. Ooh. I mean, that was really weird.
That's boot camp right there.
And you composed for that.
Well, it was just all like pop songs. So I just basically did like arrangements for all of those.
Oh, got you.
So that was probably one of the stranger ones that I've done.
Now, are you allowed, since we are talking about odd jobs, and we have mentioned this a couple of times, are you allowed to talk about the weddings that you have performed at Taco Bell?
Yes,
Las
I want to
Vegas?
hear this.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, so there's a Taco Bell cantina, 2-story cantina outside of Planet Hollywood on the Strip. And they have like the daiquiris there downstairs, but they also have a lounge upstairs and a Taco Bell chapel that has like the Taco Bell bell, but there's like
I'm sorry, the Taco Bell chapel. We're just gonna take that in for a second. Okay. Okay.
The smell of that place must be amazing. Sorry, go ahead.
Okay, continue. So you said the Taco Bell chapel, they had something. What did they have?
Yeah, so they have the Taco Bell bell, but there's 2 of them. So they look like wedding bells. So you get married up there. You get the package includes like 30 minutes in the room. You get a 12-pack of tacos. You get 2 Baja Blasts and like.
Oh my gosh!
You get a Mr. and Mrs. Taco Bell shirt, like a hot sauce garter and bow tie. And then you get a cake that has like those cinnamon balls with the warm custard.
Oh.
Um, yeah, and they have like those little Taco Bell packets that say things like "I do" and "Marry me." But I will
Wow.
say, it's just like has the restaurant music up there, so we just have an iPad and we just turn it down whenever the weddings are happening. But there's been times when like sometimes I'm like, what is this questionable radio station we're listening to? Because like we'll be getting ready to start a wedding and like like WAP by
Yeah. We were all familiar.
I'd be like,
Yeah.
is this what we're trying to do?
Well, let's
I
be
mean,
honest. You're
some
getting married in
weddings,
Vegas. You're getting married in Vegas.
some of them, that is appropriate.
Yeah.
That is appropriate. Now, and how the heck did you end up
With that gig.
doing this? Like what? Because weren't you at one point, didn't you at one point think about driving the Wiener Schnitzel?
Well, the Wienermobile, yeah, but
The
I was like,
Wienermobile?
it's too old, I guess. I was too old for their competitive salary for a
No.
23-year-old.
What was the age limit on that?
Oh, there was no age limit, but when you say competitive salary, a competitive salary to a
Minimum
23-year-old
wage.
is much
Oh,
different than a competitive salary to a 43-year-old. Even though in
yes.
my cover letter, I did say, I might look like I'm 23, but I'm really 43
Mm.
because I'm Asian.
I
And
just want to
Asian no
drive the
abrasion.
thing.
That's right.
So how
So it
often
was,
do you do this?
what?
How often do you do this?
The weddings?
Yeah.
It kind of depends. I started doing them. My first one was actually April Fool's Day in 2021.
Sounds about right.
So it just kind of varies. I do a little bit less now because I have a full-time gig in the evening. So a lot of the weddings happen in like the afternoon or like late enough where I wouldn't be able to make it to my show on time anymore. But there was one week in October though. I did like 9 of them in like 4 days.
Whoa. Wait, because that was
Yeah.
going to be my next question is how often do these happen in general? Like, is it popular?
Actually, I'm not even sure. I know some months are busier than others. I think one month they did like 34 of them or something. And there's like 3 of us that kind of like rotate and do them. So
But to be fair, Taco Bell's gotten pretty expensive. I mean, that's catering right there. That's,
I mean, for $777, you two can get married at Taco Bell. It's like they're probably the cheapest
or
strip
have
wedding
2
you'll
meals,
ever have.
you know?
Yeah.
It's really $777?
That's
Yeah.
insane.
That
Wow.
I
I'm still trying to wrap my head around this. This is bizarre to me. I heard
Well,
you
you
say
can
that in the
also
beginning.
and you can also have like a reception up there and an open bar because they have like an open bar like right next to it that they can do and people have like you can get like a whole bunch of variety of different foods up there. I've done like some bigger weddings up there. It's kind of funny.
Demolition
how
Man, it's coming true.
how many I just one more question because I don't want to I
This
don't
is
want to
bizarre. I'm sorry.
this is
Go.
just
Yeah.
it's so weird. It's so weird and like it's so great and so weird and so what how big can these weddings get? Can you have like 100 people in one of these things or is it like 40?
No. Well, so the chapel itself only holds about 25, but then you have like the whole lounge area. So like sometimes people have like 50 people up there. And so there's also like a big video wall. So the people that don't fit in there can sit in the lounge and still watch
course.
it on like the big screen.
Of course they can.
So yeah, but I mean, I think it's so fun to like, because I think out of the 3 of us, I probably use more taco puns. So I'll be like, do you taco this man to be your husband? Do you promise to crunch wrap him in your arm? Like you may now kiss Adia, the bride.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's painful right there. That's awesome.
And it is a real it's a real chapel.
It is a real chapel where people really get married as long as they got their paperwork.
Wow. Wow. Okay, so go ahead. Go
This
ahead.
is just so that everybody knows if you're coming to Vegas, you do have to get the paperwork still. It doesn't just, you don't show up and you can get married now. Stop it. You can't do it. You can't do it at midnight. Nobody gets drunk and married on accident. It doesn't happen. Well,
Nope.
You gotta mean it.
You gotta actually do the paperwork, guys. Sorry. And it's a pain in the butt. So yeah, I apologize. That's just a Vegas thing that bothers me.
This public service announcement has been brought to you by Dub and iHeartGeek.
Hey, that's how I roll.
So we're talking about some of the weird things that you're known for because you really are one of the most fascinating people that I know and also one of the funniest people I know. And you have kind of created a name for yourself as well, especially during the pandemic. as one of those people who's a little obsessed with dinosaurs.
Oh, I was afraid what you were going to say next.
Oh, no, we can't discuss that on air.
Okay.
Not that one. That's for the after hours show. That's for the other show. So now, especially during the pandemic, you and your also award-winning husband became known for for running around in those. Were you both? You were both T-Rexes, right?
Oh my gosh, that was you?
What?
That was you?
That was us.
I didn't know that. Okay, cool.
Yeah. We would do like weekly walks to the mailbox with our dog in inflatable costumes. So my inflatable costume I guess collection grew during the pandemic. And so we would just do that, and we would just like text all of our neighbors. We're like, hey, we're going to go walk to the mailbox if you want to come out. And they'd be like, oh, sure. And they'd come out and laugh at us and take photos. And I mean, we had like, because I have like the original T-Rex, and then we also had like, I got like the raptor, and then I also have is it the Triceratops? And I also have a pterodactyl now, but then we also had other ones. So we had like that noodle guy that's like this, just like, that guy.
Oh, the
crazy,
wavy,
happy, wiggly
arm
waving
man,
arm guy.
Yeah, arm guy.
We have him. We have like it's called like the baby kangaroo. So it's like this kangaroo, but you're like where you come out of it, it's like in the pouch.
Oh, in the pouch. Classy.
We have the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. I have a Pillsbury Doughboy.
Same thing.
Pretty much.
We have like the Left Shark. We have 2 Left Shark costumes because we actually used those for an event that we did in 2019 called I think that was Arts in Action, maybe. Or no, it was Get Launched with Positively Arts. And so it's where you mentor students for like 6 weeks and then you do performance with them, which we did at Esports Arena. But we had a little girl and she was, I think she was blind. And so we did a little musical number with her. So me, because she couldn't see, me and one of the other dancers at Le Rev actually dressed up in shark costumes, and we choreographed a little dance, but we did it holding her hand while we went up to the stage, and we incorporated her into the dance by holding her hand, and then, or we would like dance around on like swim around on the stage around her, but just to make sure that she was always safe at all times.
You're gonna make me cry a little bit.
So it was really so cute, and she sang really well, and so we did that, and that was probably one of the funnest things that I did in like 2019. But that's why I have 2 of those costumes.
Or you just couldn't get the right side.
We were always on her left. Someone's left.
Somebody's left. And then like randomly you're on the board for some science thing. What is that?
Oh, the Nevada Science Center. So one of my old neighbors started that. And she used to live on our street, and then she got divorced, so she moved off our street. But she had gone back to school in the meantime to do geology, and she got into paleontology. And so her and her now husband, it's so cool. Like they went on a lot of dino digs, and they actually discovered 2 new dinosaurs in Nevada, and one of them they got to name.
What?
Yeah, and I got to go to like the unveiling. It was at the Love Lady Brewery in Henderson, and I forget what their scientific name for it was called. It was like the Schmidtiosaurus or something.
That had to come from Vegas.
Maybe where they found it, or maybe who they were collaborating with. But yeah, it was like 2 new dinosaurs that they discovered, and so it's super cool. So they were always doing a lot of dinosaur digs. So then they ended up starting and founding like their Nevada Science Center. And so they were doing that, and we actually got to take my nephews there a couple of years ago. And they got to go, they have like a little trough of water where kids can kind of go and dig. And during the pandemic, they did a lot of science classes that were online there. And then once the pandemic was over, they were able to open up and have like little small groups where they did like kind of like science lessons where like homeschool kids could come and do like field trips to do like science things. So it was in downtown Henderson off of Water Street. It was cool. So now they've moved to Reno, and actually because her husband, I believe, got a job curating maybe like a museum up there in Carson City.
Yeah, but it's
Oh,
Reno.
cool.
Ew.
Yeah.
Oh,
Reno.
listen, Reno deserves it too.
It's just like it's just Las Vegas's armpit. It's all good.
Oh, hey,
I
hey,
love you, Reno
hey.
people. Thank you if you're listening, but I don't know if you guys
So,
have the technology. Anyway, go ahead.
oh, so you're involved. See, and now I'm gonna be all serious. So you're involved with all of these opportunities for young people. How do they find out about these opportunities?
Usually just word of mouth, a lot of social media posting.
Mhm.
Sometimes I get the ideas just from just places I go and people I run into. Like if I see like a need for something, I'll kind of just
You just make it
create something.
happen. So
I just
now
make it happen.
doesn't Creation Project actually have a is it a scholarship program?
It is. So we started that in 2020 as well. And so what we do is it's open to any public, private, or homeschooled student in the Clark County area. And so they need to be involved in the arts in some capacity. But basically, like what I try to do with them is because I partner with Positively Arts. So the first year I did it kind of on my own, and then the second year, Positively Arts was like, let's do this and let's double the scholarships. So I've been
Wow.
getting assistance from them to do more scholarships, which has been amazing. And it's just because like I always think it's so important to give back to the community, but also to have access to the arts. And I feel like especially in 2020 when everyone was so isolated, but especially like when we talk about Asian visibility in the arts, there's just not a whole lot. And some of that is just due to, I think, just opportunity and exposure. And
Mhm.
so, actually, the first two winners that we had in 2020, one of them was actually found out about it from a talkback I did online with a Liberty High School choir because I knew their choir teacher and he was having guests come in every week to
We'll
speak.
talk later on that.
And she emailed me afterwards and was just like, oh my gosh, she was like, this was so amazing. Like I just never saw any other people like me that were doing things like this. And it turns out like she actually writes her own music and she wanted to get into it, but she felt very I think at the time that we met, like, she was very kind of like, closed off, a bit isolated and very shy. And so she wrote the most like heartbreaking essay like we've ever read. We just all read it. We cried. We're like, okay, we have to do it for her. And so actually, and she's both of those two girls. I still keep up with. I still follow. Actually, that girl that went to Liberty actually just won our first college offered scholarship. And she's at UNLV attending there now. And she's doing music, which is not something that
Amazing.
she thought she was going to do. And so she really wants to go into like being a singer songwriter. And of course, it's like trying to like let kids know like, okay, there are a lot of steps that have to happen without trying to crush their dreams. But
Mhm.
but it's a lot of hard work. And I just think that, with the advent of like reality TV and like things like American Idol and YouTube, people just are like, oh, well, they just wanted to do this tomorrow. And all of a sudden next week I have 100,000 followers. And it doesn't work that way. And it's
Yeah.
just trying to like really impress into this younger generation of artists that it is so much work. You are going to be tired all the time. You will probably be poor. You're probably going to work 1,000 jobs. Um, and to be successful, you really have to do the work, which is the main thing that I feel like is sort of getting a bit lost on
Mhm.
this younger
Mhm.
generation. Like, and it makes me feel older. I'm like, get off my lawn. Like I did all this thing. But it is so
Back
true
in
because
my day.
back in my day, because there is no substitute for doing the work, laying that
Mhm.
foundation of skills, building up your skills.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's not just like, oh, I saw this gig coming up, and so now I'm going to learn how to do this skill. It's got to be, I've been training for all these things, so now I have a skill that's ready for that gig, and you're ready to go like that.
Mhm.
Because like you don't like things like stamina, things like your vocal health, endurance, those don't just come like by all of a sudden I warmed up higher one day and now I can sing high. It's like you have to be doing those things consistently,
Yeah.
correctly,
Mhm.
over a long period of time to develop that. And
Those
so,
10,000 hours.
yeah, and so like with these scholarships, we try to encourage these students to kind of look beyond what's right in front of them. Like I try to tell them like, hey, if you have a roadblock, don't let that be the end of whatever you're doing, find a way around it. There's 1,000 ways to do everything.
Yeah.
And with the scholarship, kind of what I try to use to kind of help open doors for all of these students. So that way, like if it's something like if all that's standing between them and like maybe like their passion of like creating art is they don't have access to like Adobe Illustrator or something because it's cost too much. That's something that we can help them with. We help with training. So like we'll do like for some other students, we'll do like lesson tuition assistance. So so it's really kind of grown, and I really have enjoyed seeing like how all of these students have kind of grown. And this year we actually just decided to award the first ongoing senior scholarship for a student who actually was a past winner. And we've kind of known her all, kind of tracked her through high school. She was just at the Nevada High School Theater Awards, and I think she came in second for like her solo. But she and her twin sister actually are both in the arts. And so because of all of her accomplishments of the things that she's been doing all along the way, we awarded her a special senior scholarship, but it will carry over every year for the next 4 years she's in a college institution.
That is fantastic. That is fantastic because so often, you're developing these young artists, and as soon as I've graduated from college, and then it's like they're in the wind, or, or whatever, they won their thing, and then it's like, here, have at it, see you later. And, it's if you're not surrounded by, people who understand how the business works, who can, and it's not that rules can't be broken, yada, 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 but knowing what the rules are will help you figure out when you want to break them, open up some doors.
You're really fixing a problem that's in Vegas. And that is like one of my sons went to LVA to play bass, and it's a magnet school. It's very hard to get into, and you are like surrounded by musicians. My other two boys didn't have that chance. They played in the orchestra and all that, but they didn't get the opportunity to say, there's other things out there you can do if you're not in this, prestigious school, and that you're actually filling a nice hole in there that's saying, hey, you don't have to have gone to that school. You're doing this. You can still do the stuff that you need to do. And it's a personal thank you from me. That's something that Vegas needs.
Oh, thanks.
That's beautiful.
So.
Angela, do you want to talk a little bit, real briefly? We won't keep you too much longer, but about your award-winning shows that you've written, and maybe we can talk a little, talk really briefly about how.
Oh no!
No, we can't go there.
I'm
you
just
should
scared
be scared.
I'm
going to tell you right now.
Stumbling over your words.
Yeah,
I'm scared.
Yeah, you actually should be. So one of the projects that I was very blessed to work with Angela on was her original show, The Legacy of the Tiger Mother. And we actually went to San Francisco Fringe. The show won audience favorite, and one of the show's highlights that people talk about all the time, and I say this with such respect for my ancestors and for my mom, but one of the hits from the show is a song titled "Raisy White Children." And I tell you, one of my mom's favorite insults to me when I wasn't, taking care of business was "You lazy American girl."
Oh no.
Oh yeah. That was like the gauntlet was being thrown down. So you've written that, and you have since written another show, which I'm not familiar with. Tell me about your other show.
Which one? I've written music for a couple and music and lyrics for another one. After that one, I did, what did I do? Oh, I did a summer camp, which was like kind of like a campy, dirty musical we did here at the Onyx one summer in 2012. And then the year after that, I did music for, it was like a one act show that we did in the Vegas Fringe called Sudoku. And we did
Sudoku, the musical.
Yeah, it was
14, 26.
It was very dark, actually. It was very dark. It's very sad. That. And then I also, a couple years ago, did music for, it was a Sex and the City, an unauthorized musical parody.
Oh, boy.
So I did that too. So I kind of just do other little projects. So in 17 maybe, or no, yeah, 2016, Knott's Berry Farms was doing a circus show, and some friends of mine that I'd worked with were directing it and producing it, and they were like, "Hey, can you write an opening number for us?" And I was like, I guess so. so I did, and I just kind of made it like, it was just like some fun little circus opening tune, and we actually got to go to Knott's Berry Farms and see it, which was kind of super cool.
See, I would have been the one who was like, "Great, we're going to Knott's Berry Farm to see our show," but I might have missed it because I was on a ride. That would be me. Thank you for sharing that with us. So now let's tell everybody where they can find you, where they can find the Creation Project, where they can find Positively Arts, all that good stuff.
Sure. A lot of it's on my website, which is angelachanmusic.com. The Creation Project is thecreationproject.com, and creation is spelled CR, the number.
No,
eight.
CR, isn't it CRE?
CRE number 8.
Like this, like on my t-shirt. You can read it off my t-shirt.
Just like that, but with a 3 in front of it. But it's also on my website if you just want to click through.
Yes, go to angelachan.com.
Yeah.
And you can click through there.
AngelaChanMusic.com.
AngelaChanMusic.com.
Yeah, I'm also on Instagram. The Creation Project is on Instagram as that. And then also my personal Instagram is at LHCJ, which you can also has links to that as well.
And she is delightful to follow, although be warned, sometimes there is some slightly more adult content.
No.
I know, it's shocking. That's for the after hours show. We'll talk about that later.
Yeah, the after hours show, I'm embarrassed. I'm just saying. That's saying
I will just say that I did once marry some people here dressed in a Captain Marvel costume, also dressed in an inflatable phallic costume.
Only in Vegas.
And I danced down the aisle, and I couldn't because the Captain Marvel costume came from China. There were all the decals were just Velcroed on, so I couldn't get the costume off. And as I was deflating, I was just stuck in it, and my husband had to go up to the front in the gazebo to help me get the costume off.
Wow.
Classy.
Things that only happen here.
Classy. She's a classy lady.
And we streamed to their family in Israel too, which was even better. They didn't tell anybody.
Oh God.
And on that note, check out our website, www.iheartgeekshow.com. Use the code we paid extra for it. Go to our Facebook, go to our Instagram, all that stuff. Talk to us. We do talk back to you.
Make sure that you click like, subscribe, and
Subscribe.
also if you can go into your, especially for your iOS users, go into your app, hit automatic downloads. That really, really helps us out. They've changed some things around in the algorithm. So if you really want to help, even if you don't listen to the episode, just having it in there really, really helps us. You can delete our episodes later, but you won't want to because you don't want to listen to them all.
Again and again. It's one of those things. So until next time, I'm Dub. We're here with Angela and Satomi.
And keep on geeking on.
You have been listening to the latest episode of the iHeart Geek Show. Make sure you visit our website at www.iheartgeekshow.com. Make sure to follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. And if you check us out on YouTube, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And keep on geeking on to all of you geek rock stars.